Welcome students to the today's lecture. Today we would be discussing a very interesting topic, that is preparation of genomic DNA library. The main learning objective of this lecture is you will be getting to understand what is DNA library actually, what are its uses, what is the importance, what are the different types of library, DNA libraries, and we'll be basically focusing on genomic DNA library in the today's lecture, that what are the steps, how we can construct a genomic DNA library. So at the end of this lecture, you will be having a detailed understanding about the different types and the relevance of genomic DNA library in the case of, molecular biology and genetic engineering experiments. So starting with it, first is what is a DNA library actually? Suppose whenever we talk about a word, whenever we say a word library, so what does it mean? Normally, one thing that click in our mind, that is a library is a collection of books which are freely accessible, and we can go and study about it, and we can study each and every book that, and we can explore these books or explore the information that is present in that very book. That means it is easily accessible, and we can study about that very book in detail. So whenever you talk about a DNA library, that means the concept of library is remains the same, but we have added a word DNA. That means that this would be the library of DNA clones or DNA molecules. So in short, we can say a DNA library is a collection of DNA sequence. That means a collection of clones of DNA that are basically designed in such a manner so that there is a very high probability, if we want to go for the detection of a particular DNA fragment in our source DNA or in our sample out of that very collection. So we can study about that very particular piece of DNA. So similar to that of conventional libraries, the main objective of DNA library is to also collect the data. First point, that means collect the DNA data or DNA sequence information, and then store that information for the later use or for the later work. So in case of DNA library, the all kind of information that is stored, it is stored as a set of DNA molecules. That means in short, we can say these are the collection of different DNA fragments, and that DNA fragments in collection or when they are combined represent the complete genome, or you can say a particular biological system of interest that is under study. So the most common use, that why we need to construct such kind of libraries, that is because they are of immense importance in case of DNA sequencing and gene cloning. That these two things, that means DNA sequencing and gene cloning, in that case DNA libraries are used immensely. So, talking further about the many uses of these gene libraries. First is, if you want to obtain the sequence of a genes for analysis purpose, or if you want to amplify a particular DNA fragment, or if you want to clone a particular DNA fragment, you want to study the expression profiling. In that case, what we do, we construct a genomic library of a particular organism or a particular genome, and then we use those clones for sequencing, amplification, cloning, and expression purpose as per our desire. So once we have established a sequence, that means this step, this first part is complete if, that means sequence of gene is obtained. So once the sequence is known, we can design complementary probes, we can design primers, so that we can use the sequence of that very DNA for many diagnostic based work. For example, if you want to go for the hybridization reactions, for example, northern hybridization, southern hybridization, or you want to go for the PCR, that is polymerase chain reaction. If you want to amplify a gene, suppose the sample is less, you want to have an ample amount of that very sample. So we can Basically, all of these techniques are dependent upon the sequence of genome or sequence of that very DNA. Furthermore, the knowledge of a gene sequence, it will also offer a major, you can say, application or major possibility in the case of gene therapy also, if the gene sequence is known. However, if you want to go for the gene expression study, by using this gene expression, we can use these gene expression studies to synthesize a particular product in a particular host cell. For example, if you talk about, if you want to synthesize human gene products and you want that those gene products to be expressed in the prokaryotic cells, so all of these things are basically possible due to the gene sequence, or whenever we have established the gene sequence by taking the sequence from or taking the fragment from gene library. So, having talked about what are gene libraries, what are their uses, in what areas we can use it, another important thing, that is, what are the types? Is there many types or few types? So there are two types of gene libraries or DNA libraries. Sorry. So first is genomic library and second is cDNA library. That means there are main two types, genomic and cDNA. So in the genomic library, as the name suggests, the genomic library will be basically comprising of all the DNA fragments that will represent the entire genome of an organism. That is why we are calling it as genomic library. However, if you talk about cDNA, as the name suggests, cDNA is complementary DNA. So the cDNA library, it will contains only the complementary DNA molecules that are synthesized from messenger RNA molecules in a cell. So in short, we can say in the genomic library, all the introns and the exons, all the intronic DNA and exonic DNA, the clones would be present. That means the junk DNA would also be stored as a clone. However, in the case of cDNA, it will only contain the coding sequences, because we are constructing this library based upon the mRNA, because from mRNA, cDNA would be synthesized and we will be storing those cDNA clones for the further work. So we can say these are, this is a diagram showing this genomic library and cDNA concept. So this is a genomic DNA library. As you can see, we have to clone the different DNA fragments, whether it is exon or it is intron. So what we have done here. So as you can see, this is a promoter sequence C. You can select this sequence. Promoter, this is exon, the main boxes, and this mid one, these are the intronic parts, these intergenic sequences between these two exons. So whenever you are constructing genomic DNA library, out of this promoter, this complete stretch, as you can see, promoter along with exon 1, exon 2, exon 3, as well as intron. It was cloned in a vector. And after that, the genomic DNA library will contain few of the intronic clones, few of the exonic clones. So basically, it will represent complete genome, whether it is coding or not coding, whether it is beneficial for us or not. So, however, on the other hand, if you say, I shall must erase this annotation, just a moment. So, having understood about genomic DNA library, the next thing is how you can go for the construction of cDNA library. For this, again, I am taking this sequence as reference, in which what we have promoter, we have exon, we have introns. So in case of cDNA library, what will happen? First of all, these three exons, these are our main DNA. What will happen? It would be first converted into mRNA. This is mRNA. When mRNA is constructed after post-translational modification, this is mature messenger RNA, actually, mature one. I am writing it as MAT. This is pre-messenger RNA, in which you can see some introns because once from DNA and mRNA is constructed, at that time these introns, these are removed by post translational modification. You must have studied all these things in transcription, translation, and post transcriptional and post translational modification. So after that, the RNA splicing would be happening. Because of that, these introns would be removed, and this is a polyadenylation tail. This is tail, polyadenylation tail. So this is a mature messenger RNA, but it is containing only exonic region. So once from taking this mRNA as a template, first of all, we will be constructing cDNA. So this is the cDNA, complementary DNA, and we would be cloning the cDNA into a vector, and we will be having a range of cDNA clones. So basically, we are constructing a library that is containing only the coding regions of the particular organism's DNA. So that is the main difference between genomic and cDNA library. But our main topic of today is genomic DNA library, that what are the steps, how we can go for it. Because in this brief picture, it was very easy to understand, but there are many steps involved whenever you go for the genomic library construction or cDNA library construction. So the first thing is genomic DNA library, as we have understood this, that it is a collection of clones, or you can say colonies or plaques in case of bacteriophages. It's containing all the fragments of genomic DNA of a particular organism that has been cloned in a suitable vector. That means if you want to construct a library that is dependent upon the genome of a particular organism, in that case, the first step would be isolation of genomic DNA, and then you need to digest the genomic DNA of that very organism by using restriction enzymes. And then you get those fragments inserted inside a particular vector. As you can see here, here it is also written, genomic DNA of organism is fragmented. That means we have to fragment this by restriction digestion. However, this thing is coming in our next slides. But after the all the fragments are ligated to a linearized vector. That means you have to clone each fragment inside a vector. Then that recombinant vector molecule will be transformed into a host cell. It can be prokaryotic cell. So this is the thing. The recombinant vector molecules are introduced into the cells of host. So if you are taking vector as plasmid, in that case, each transformed cell of the host is grown to form a colony, because we have transformed that thing in a plasmid. We have to grow that very thing onto a media plate that is containing some selectable marker. Or if you are using a virus as a vector, or you are using bacteriophage as a vector, in that case recombinant viral particle is basically forming plaques onto the media. So hence, whenever you have a collection of colonies or plaques, after these complete steps, that complete collection of colonies and plaques will represent the entire genome. So in reality, in practically, what are the steps? First is, first step would be isolation of genomic DNA and vector. That means, first of all, you need to isolate the genomic DNA of organism under your study. After that, you need to isolate a vector, or you need to select a vector. Then second step would be restriction digestion. For that, the cleavage of genomic DNA and vector, because if you want to go for restriction digestion and after that your next step is gene cloning or recombinant vector preparation, in that case we need to digest the genomic DNA as well as the vector with the same kind of restriction endonuclease. After this restriction digestion, whenever you have got a lot of fragments in your hand, next step is ligation of that very fragmented DNA within the vector. That means we will be going for the cloning inside the vector molecule. After the recombinant vector is formed, the next step would be transformation of this recombinant DNA in the bacterial cell. That means we will be transforming this recombinant vector molecule carrying our gene of interest inside a bacteria. And then last step would be amplification of that rDNA, because we want a large amount of that very recombinant DNA. So for last step would be amplification of rDNA in the bacterial cell. So in nutshell, you can say these are the 5 steps these that are listed. First is DNA isolation, restriction digestion, ligation, transformation, and last is amplification. So we can easily track the steps in this picture also. I have marked it step 1. So this is a cell and this is the genomic DNA. First of all, we have isolated this genomic DNA. Genomic DNA is isolated. Here, the plasmid vectors are also isolated. So our first step is done. Next step is what? Next step is restriction digestion. So what we have done, digestion with restriction enzymes, because our next step would be gene cloning. So we are digesting it with the same restriction enzyme. So once you have digested it, as you can see, this is the cleaved DNA that has been shown here, and sticky ends are also shown. And whenever you digest a vector as well as a genomic DNA with same kind of restriction enzymes, the sticky ends that would be generated, they would be similar, or you can say they would be complementary. If they are complementary, actually that those sticky ends are the base for the further gene cloning step. That is step 3, ligation. So this is the step 3 in which what we have done, inside this vector, this area is blank because we have digested it with a restriction endonuclease. So we'll be basically what will be happening whenever you're going for the ligation, different fragments, different DNA fragments that are generated, they would get ligated. So as you can see, this is the ligated, a complete circularized vector is again obtained, but this is a recombinant vector because each of this vector would be containing different DNA fragments because we are constructing a genomic DNA library. Next step would be transformation, that how you are going to transform, how you are going to introduce this recombinant vector DNA molecules inside the bacteria. For that, we can use many procedures. We have discussed those methods also, like chemical methods are there, physical methods are there, biological methods are there, microinjection, electroporation, ultrasonication, or you can use some salts also, like calcium chloride method. So by using different method, what is the next step? That is step 4, insertion into the bacteria. So this is a bacteria into which different recombinant vector containing the recombinant vector would be inserted. So once you have transformed the bacteria with your recombinant vector, your next step would be, that means the last step would be amplification. Before this amplification, there is one step, selection also. That means we need to screen also. But if you are going for a single fragment cloning, in that case, we go for screening. If you are constructing genomic DNA library, we can omit this step also. We can directly go for the DNA isolation here, and we can isolate different, or you can say we can isolate DNA from this bacteria. We can isolate DNA from this bacteria. So what will happen? Whenever you will be isolating the DNA, each of the recombinant vector that you will be isolating, it would be containing a different fragment. That means you will be having a clone of different DNA. So that is the amplification part. And you will be having the collection of these very clones. So in detail, what are the steps? What are the detailed steps of detailed procedure to carry out each of these steps? First is extraction of DNA, genomic DNA. So first step is, suppose you are isolating genomic DNA from a bacteria. In that case, first of all, you need to grow the bacterial culture and you need to harvest the cells. You can harvest the cell by centrifugation. This is the cells that have been obtained. Then you can go for the purification or preparation of cell extract. You can purify the DNA by removing the contaminants like RNA and protein by using various enzymes, RNase or proteinase K, or you can go for the phenylchloroform extraction also. So once you have found the concentrated DNA, that means you have isolated the complete genomic DNA of a bacteria. Now, the next step was restriction digestion. So we can cut it with a restriction endonuclease enzyme. So this is a non-specific cutting. That means a restriction enzyme that is cutting at any site. Because of that, many fragments or uneven size fragments would be obtained. So it is very difficult to use those kind of fragments for the cloning purpose. And by using restriction endonuclease, they will make specific cuts. So there would be no unspecificity problem there. There would be no problems of such kind. So they would be making a specific cut. You will be having the fragments, and then after that, you can go for your further cloning process. Because whenever you go for non-specific, you can use many methods, like you can give harsh treatment to the DNA. In that case, non-specific fragments would be generated. For example, due to the vigorous shaking or vigorous centrifugation or agitation, sonication, because of that, these non-specific cuts would be obtained, and we don't want that. We need specific fragments, because that is basically required for the further gene cloning process. So this is the next step, that is ligation of the DNA molecule within the vector. That means ligate the gene with the vector which was cleaved by the same enzyme. So what is happening here? This is a vector DNA. You have to, and this is the chromosomal DNA fragment to be cloned. Both are having the same kind of sticky ends, as you can see. Because of these complementary or similar kind of sticky ends, it is very easy to ligate them together, as you can see. Here the ligation is happening. This is a recombinant DNA molecule, and then you can directly transform that very recombinant DNA molecule inside the bacteria. Next step is transformation. So once you have prepared this recombinant vector DNA molecule, then you need to transform into the bacterial cells which are able to undergo further treatment, or which are able to undergo this treatment. That means we need to select competent cells. If a cell have the natural competency means the ability to uptake the foreign DNA, and then that DNA shall get integrated inside the host DNA. As you can see, DNA fragments from donor cells. This is the recipient cell. Recipient cell is basically taking up the DNA, and these two genes will be replaced by this uh, foreign DNA. So this is a genetically transformed cell. Normally, some of the cells are such type, they are naturally competent because they have the capability to uptake any kind of foreign DNA molecule from the surroundings, from the environment. If the cells that you can say, if you have selected such kind of bacteria that is not competent, in that case, first of all, you need to make them competent. That means you need to induce the competency. So that we usually treat these bacterial cells with certain salt solutions so that the cell permeability is changed and DNA can enter inside. So calcium chloride, for that, that is the most you can say readily used material that we use in the laboratories. That what it will be doing, it will causing the DNA to precipitate onto the outside walls of the bacterial cells. Next is amplification. That means once you have transformed the cell, next point is how you can go for the amplification. For that, once the complete transformation is done, you need to culture, or you need to grow those recombinant host cells onto a media containing a particular selectable marker. Maybe it can be ampicillin or it can be tetracycline. As you can see here, suppose you have used this plasmid in which this is the insert, this is the ORI region, that is the region of amplification, and this is an antibiotic resistance gene. And in this case, this antibiotic resistance gene is disrupted. So the transformation of plasmid into bacterial cell is happening. So bacterial cell will express the antibiotic resistance gene because this gene is functional. That means for the selection of this very recombinant vector, we can use the antibiotic as selectable marker, or you can say you can use this as a base to select that which of the DNA, which of the recombinant vector is transformed. So that only those cells that could be that have contained that very you can say insert, they would be able to grow. And once you have found those colonies, you can plate the cells. Only those cells there that will be able to grow and form the colonies onto that selectable media, you can select those clones, and then you can further isolate the DNA and you can store them as a library as different clones. So this was all about genomic DNA library. We use this genomic DNA library construction methods in many aspects. if you want to go for the sequencing of a genome of a particular organism, because when that means whenever a genome sequencing project is is you know is the main target, in that case first step would be genomic library. That means genomic library construction. This is the first step in any DNA sequencing project, because the whole genome can be sequenced only when you will be having a collection of clones or that will represent the complete genome of an organism. And this genomic library, it will basically help in identification of novel pharmaceutical important genes also, because once you have certain the sequence, you can go for designing many experiments, expression based experiments or PCR based experiments or hybridization based experiments. You can go for the selection that which of the gene can be used as a marker gene also. Then, once you have established a genomic library of a particular genome, in that case, this library would also help in the identification of new genes which were silent or who were not expressing, who were not showing their presence. So we can go for the identification of those genes also. Then another important thing is, because we are basically using this genomic library as a scaffold, as you can say, a basic a foundation for genome sequence, DNA sequencing projects. So we can understand the complexity of genomes also, that how complex is our genome, what are the genes, what is their position, how they are basically expressing after designing expression based experiments. Next is, this genomic library, it can serve as a source of genomic sequence for generation of many kind of transgenic animals also through genetic engineering. Because once you have established the sequence, you can use this genome sequence that you have got. You can modify these things by genetic engineering, and you can go on constructing many transgenic animals, or you can say transgenic plants. If you want to study the regulatory information, that how a particular pathway is basically regulated, in that case study of the function of regulatory sequences can be performed under in vitro conditions. That is also possible. If you want to go for the study of some mutations, that during the evolution, how the particular gene has evolved, whether there are some mutations and whether those mutations are responsible for any kind of disease progression, that means we can go for the study of many kind of genetic mutations that is basically responsible for for carrying for cancer that is happening in different kind of tissues. So these are the main applications that a genomic DNA library that is basically used for. However, it is very important if you are working in a genetic engineering field, whether you want to construct a transgenic animal, whether you want to go for any gene expression study, whether you want to understand the complexity of genome, whether you want to understand the regulation, that how a particular gene, or you can say you can basically give the detailed information of operons also in case of bacteria, that how the particular set of genes is basically switching on and off in relation to each other, how they are basically progressing towards expression of a particular kind of gene, how the products are being made, how the feedback regulation is being happening. So all of these things can be studied by the genome sequence, which we need to establish first of all by constructing a genomic DNA library. However, sometimes how there is a very tedious task if you want to construct a complete genomic DNA library, because the screening part is again it is a very crucial step when you switch to genome sequencing based studies, because you can easily establish the genomic DNA library, but there may be the chance of duplication. You need to have a check that the each DNA fragment is cloned, and then you need to preserve that each DNA clone into in a very suitable form, that it remains viable for a longer time for carrying out your studies. So this genomic DNA library is it holds immense potential in case of genetic engineering and in many genome DNA sequencing based projects. So that is all for today. These are the few MCQs pertaining to today's lecture. that how the first genomic libraries were constructed, what are the different types, what is a genomic DNA library actually, how you can go for the restriction digestion if you want to go for the genomic library, what are the different steps, what would be the first step followed by second, what are the key points that you need to take up in mind, then how you can go for the construction, how you can assure that all the DNA clones have been obtained. So all of this information is shared in this lecture, and all of these MCQs are uploaded onto the LMS for your attempt. If you people found any kind of difficulties, you can recheck, re-listen to this lecture, and these MCQs can be attempted through LMS. Thank you so much for listening.